Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. We go to the phones. Our next guest, Republican strategist. Here on the Chad Hasty Show, it's Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
Doing pretty good, Chad. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you joining us. You're also the chairman of the Travis County Republican Party. How are things looking for you guys there in Travis County today?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the most Democratic county in the state, right? So
Yeah.
it's a tough place, every election cycle. But we've got 5 races we think we can win: 2 congressional races, a county commissioner seat, really important Court of Appeals Chief Justice race, in our state house race in House District 47. And we think a number of our other candidates are going to do pretty well today. So, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
What before we get into some of the national and statewide stuff, what is this proposition that's on the ballot down there, kind of the new Green Deal for Austin? Is that gaining any traction?
There's a massive infrastructure project. It's a 25% property tax increase forever, in perpetuity. It's called Project Connect. It's going to build a subway through downtown Austin. I believe it's going to go down pretty strongly tonight. I think that the plan is terrible, makes no sense. It has all kinds of assumptions, like massive amounts of federal money that they haven't secured. It's just a total mess.
How much of a tax increase?
Pardon?
How much of a tax increase?
25% property tax in perpetuity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
in the middle of a
goodness.
pandemic when no one's taking public transportation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully that does go down in flames.
Yeah.
Let's. What are your feelings for tonight, Matt? When looking at the presidential race, I know you've sent out a map, and you've been viewing a lot of other maps as well, and it seems like Pennsylvania is one of the big key states.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I'll be honest, Chad. It's kind of a head versus heart thing for me.
Yeah.
I see how Biden believe he has a lead, and I believe you'd rather be him than Trump today. That said, I absolutely believe Trump can win. I believe it's going to be very close. If it's not close, I'll be surprised. And as I think I've said on your air before, I really think it's probably going to come down to a couple states. And if I had to guess, it's going to be Pennsylvania and Arizona. I think North Carolina and Florida are going to be solid for Trump. I think Georgia is as well. I think Michigan's probably out of reach, and I think Wisconsin's definitely out of reach. So it's going to come down to those 2 states, and I think the winner's going to be under 300 electoral votes, I believe. And there's a path where Trump gets to 279 or 280. There's a path where Biden gets to anywhere from 280 to like 305, 306, depending on how those 2 states break. So if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he's probably going to win. If he wins Pennsylvania and Arizona, he is almost surely going to win. But he's got to do both. And I'll say this: Republicans have to have an absolutely massive turnout today. There's just no other way around it.
Yeah. What about the U.S. Senate? How do you think that goes?
Really, really close. I think the Colorado seat is gone. I think the Arizona seat is probably gone. After that, it's all really close. Collins may surprise people and barely win in Maine. I think Tillis may surprise people and barely win in North Carolina. Keep your eye on John James in Michigan. I really think if Trump keeps that within 3 points, John James is going to win, and he may save the country and hold the Senate majority on that basis alone. I expect Lindsey Graham to narrowly win in South Carolina. I think Montana, Alaska, Iowa are all solid Republican states. Remember, the Democrats have to get a net of 4 because we're going to take Alabama back. They have a pathway to 2, and if they win Maine and North Carolina, they have a pathway to 4. But they got to do both of those things and hold Michigan. So it's both sides need an inside straight at this point, and I think we're not going to know for a while. And you're probably going to have at least 1 and maybe 2 runoffs in Georgia on January 5th that may determine the Senate majority.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned Arizona. Is it possible for Trump to win Arizona and the Republicans still lose that Senate seat?
Good question. One of the things to watch tonight is going to be whether Republican candidates for House and Senate overperform Trump, and if so, at what level they overperform him. I believe that the best candidates that are running the best campaigns, that have their own brand, that have been really sharp with their message, have an opportunity to overperform the president by up to 5% in different places. I don't know about McSally. I mean, Mark Kelly is an astronaut. He's kind of a hero. I don't know that he's necessarily run a great campaign, but he's certainly given himself a chance to win, and he's been ahead. McSally's been kind of weak politically in that state. She ran and lost again, and got appointed. She was in the House. She's actually extremely impressive. I mean, if you want to talk about trailblazing women, of any persuasion in the United States. She is right up there. I think she was the first combat pilot in the Air Force. But for whatever reason, she's just had trouble statewide. So I think there's a chance she may barely overperform Trump or barely underperform him. But yeah, if he wins, if it's like less than 1%, it's possible she could also lose.
Yeah. What about the Texas House? That's another one that I know a lot of folks here in Texas are going to be paying attention to. Will that stay in Republican hands? What do you think?
Yeah, this comes down to Trump's margin, right? If Trump wins Texas by the 5% or more margin that I expect, then we're going to hold the House. If he's at 3% or less, or somehow loses Texas, then we're going to lose. We're going to lose the Texas House. So it's all about the margin. Remember, Democrats need a net of 9 seats. I think it's likely they get 3 or 4, maybe 5. I think 9's a stretch. And so I do expect Republicans to hold the House. It's going to be a narrow margin. It's going to make things very interesting in January. But it comes down to Trump's margin, and he's going to need to win Texas by a larger margin than Cruz did, or we're going to lose the House.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that John Cornyn is pretty safe in this state, and I think he'll outperform the president. What say you?
I do too. He's run a great campaign. His messaging in the last few months has been very focused on swing voters. He's not made mistakes. I don't think Hager's really gotten much traction. Now they have put a ton of money against him on the air through all the groups over the last few months, and that is going to have an effect. And so the race is going to be closer than it probably should have been. I think they put $30 million on television in the last 2 weeks alone to try to tighten that race and perhaps basically steal it at the end. But it's. Cornyn's going to win. He's going to do well. This race was never really nationally, viewed as competitive, and he deserves credit for that because you got to remember, 2 years ago this day, we thought, oh my God, we've got, Texas turning blue, Beto almost won. Anything's possible. Well, Cornyn showed no. If you take it seriously, you run a real campaign for 2 years. You're disciplined. You raise the money. You have a good message. You can win and keep the state from turning blue. At that level. Yeah,
absolutely. Matt, tell folks how they can sign up for your newsletter and also tell folks about your podcast.
Yeah, the newsletter is called Must Read Texas. We've got 20,000 plus subscribers in the state. They receive our easy-to-read summary of Texas news every weekday morning. You can sign up for a free 1-week trial at mustreadtexas.com. The podcast is called Mac on Politics. It's available in the iTunes Store, on Google Play, on Stitcher, and on Spotify. Most recent episode is with my friend Howard Fineman, longtime journalist at Newsweek and the Huffington Post. He's now an analyst for NBC News. We took a deep dive into Pennsylvania, his home state, my family's home state, and talked about the race, both on the Biden and Trump side. So definitely check that episode out. It's a good primer before tonight.
All right, Matt, good luck with all your races there, and we appreciate your time. We'll visit with you next week to hopefully we'll have a winner in the presidential race by the time we talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
All
Sounds
right.
good. Take care.
Thanks, Matt. That's Matt Mackowiak here on the Chad Hasty Show.